Hello lovelies, and welcome to my first video for the month. So I was very excited to see this fabulous watercolor palette with the mixed media kit. How awesome is it? It's actually a really decent palette too. There's a really good variety of colors, and I think I've used this in just about all of my projects. Now what I'm doing is I'm starting out with some white cardstock. I just use regular American Crafts cardstock, and I've spritzed it with water. And then I've wet my palette first with another spritz of water, because it's always good to start when they're a bit wet. And then I've used the water brush. Now, I'm not a big fan of these. I don't tend to use them a lot, only because I like to use a really big, thick brush when I do watercolor. But to start with, I thought I'd show you how easy it is to do watercolor with one of these water brush pens. Sorry about that. So this water pen has the water in it, and then you squeeze it to bring the water out, and that's how you move your paint around on your background. The best thing with these is to use the water in the brush to move the paint on your cardstock, not to necessarily wet your watercolors. So that's why I always spritz them first. And my theory with watercolors is the more water, the better. I like a lot of water with my watercolors because I do like to watch them move a lot. And I do blend them a lot as well. I like to blend multiple colors. So you'll see that I also did get a little bit of acrylic, put some watercolor on straight onto the acrylic piece. So this is basically when you get a stamp set, it's usually got that clear acrylic piece on top, or that acetate type thingy on top. I just keep those when I open up new sets of stamps, and I use those instead of packaging because it's just easier to always find them, and they're reusable. So I just apply my watercolor to that, spritz with some water, and apply it to my background. Now with watercolor, wet on wet will give you a good blend. That's how you get that blendy watercolory look, by using a wet medium onto a wet background. So that's why I always spritz my background with a bit of water first. Not a lot, but enough so when you touch that watercolor to it, it's gonna move and give you a really nice blend. Now I'm starting with my photos. So this collection, I find, has been very good for this quarantine period. I found this collection was just fantastic for all of those photos. And this was the first one I wanted to scrap. So this is a picture of a jar. This jar, my boys struggled, especially my youngest. He's my outdoorsy kid. And he was always, especially when school was closed, he was always asking to go do things. Go to the park, go to the football field, go bowling, just, and then school holidays, of course, and we couldn't go anywhere. It was rough. So instead of saying no, we said, look, we can't right now, but how about you write it down, put it in the jar, and then when restrictions have lifted and we can go out again, we'll start doing all the things in the jar that we couldn't do. So that's what we did, and it made it a lot easier. There's things like bowling, going to the football, watching a soccer game, all sorts of things like that. And so when restrictions lifted, we started doing these things again. But it was just one of those things. Instead of saying no, it was, sorry, buddy, not now, but if you put it in the jar, we won't forget. So that's what this picture is all about. It's documenting a very important part of surviving quarantine. And I've decided to use a 3x4 version of this photo. And I've just matted it on some of the pattern paper in the kit. And whenever I rip, it always looks like a failed mess to me for some reason. But I really did like the white. When you rip something, you get that little white, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but that's just that white layer underneath. And I like how that looked against the blue on the background as well. So that's why I went for the rip, even though I just find that I don't do it very well. You'd think, how could you mess up ripping, hey? But it just always looks wrong to me. So now I am using some more pattern paper. Now, my goal is to use more pattern paper, but not necessarily as a background. Like, some of these pattern papers have some fantastic elements on them, and I really do want to use them more. So you'll see me use not only these houses, but I also use the scallop on one as well. So always look at your pattern paper and see, can you fussy cut? That is a dirty word. I don't like to fussy cut usually. Steph is the fussy cut master. But some of these papers, if you look at them and you are up for the challenge of fussy cutting, you get a lot more embellishments out of it. So yeah, look at your papers and see if maybe there's something in those papers that you can use as embellishments. This paper here would make some fantastic embellishments, so I wouldn't mind cutting this one up a bit too. But yeah, so I've cut out some of those houses that I'm using as an embellishment underneath my photo, which I think, you know, works quite well considering everything in this jar was put in there because we were locked in the house. We couldn't really go anywhere. And then I'm going through the bits and pieces of the ephemera and just finding bits that work. And I'm going to make a nice little cluster around my houses as well. Like I said, I found this collection to be perfect for just scrapping these pictures of, you know, staying home and all those types of things. There was just so many really cool embellishments that suited this quarantine period. So a few of my layouts do reflect that, but it just works so perfectly. I've also found some foam adhesive as well. It's not tape, it's sort of like foam dot rectangles, that's what they are. And I'm using these to add some dimension to my layout. So I've got it behind a lot of my embellishments, my houses, things like that. I really do like adding dimension by using foam. A lot of the time if I'm going to pop up my photo, I'll use craft foam, but in this case I'm adding dimensions to my embellishments. And I just like the look that that gives. It's always good to have some dimension on your layouts. Now I'm going to also make a little cluster up the top here, and this is another one of those examples of where I've cut into my pattern paper to get some embellishments. So this is that scallop paper, and all I've done is I've grabbed a pen and I've doodled around the scallop a bit just to add a bit of texture and a bit of just a bit of hand drawing. And I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to put it up the top to make a nice little cluster up here. And this pattern paper as a whole, I probably wouldn't have used it, but looking at it and being able to use it as something different has definitely made it more appealing to me. So being able to cut it up and use these scallops as bits of embellishing has definitely been something I enjoyed a lot more than just trying to use this as a whole pattern piece of paper. So I'm going to put this blue up here with this lovely little heart banner thingamajiggy. And then I'm going to bring in some pink. Now, there's a lot of blue happening on this page. I don't know. I guess I just gravitate towards blue. But I do love blue and pink together as I love the contrast. And because I've used the pink in some of the embellishments, it works to bring out some more of that pink. So I'm going to get that scallop paper again, cut a bit of the pink out and put it around my photo as another layer, but then also as another layer in my little cluster up the top. So it brings in a bit more of that pink colour and just gives me more scallops to play with. I so badly wanted to make this little embellishment work. It's got a great quote on it, and the quote suited the picture really, really well and the story behind the picture, but I just couldn't find any way to make it work. If I had have put it up with my scallops, I would have actually lost the scallop feel, like the lines of the scallop, and that sort of just ruined it for me. So in the end I decided to add some more of this pink, bring the scallop in from the pink, and not in fact use that embellishment. It was kind of perfect, but yeah, I couldn't make it work, and I was really, really liking how the layout was coming together, and I didn't want to give that up. So I'm just going to bring in some more of this pink, and this is how I did it with the scallops. I just grabbed one of my fine line pens, just doodled around the line on the scallop, so just traced it basically, outlined it, that's the word I'm looking for, and then I've just fussy cut it out. Now with fussy cutting, I'm sure you all know the gist of it. It's always easier to move the paper than the scissors, so as you can see my scissors are holding very, very still, and I'm just moving that paper back and forth. Yes, that is an enamel dot on my hand, and you'll probably find at some point I have double-sided tape on there as well. This is what I do when I have extras. Instead of putting them back, I put them on my hand and find somewhere to use them. So now I'm going to just add more to this little cluster up the top. I really do love top clusters. I just think they look really cute, and they help balance the layout. As you can see, when I've put my watercolor down and then my photo, I've put it all on the right hand side. So having this little cluster up the top on the left has just sort of helped balance it out a little bit. So nothing goes to waste. As you can see, that little piece that I trimmed off from my top little scallop, I'm now going to use somewhere around my photo. I end up using it along my bottom cluster, and I really like how this little embellishing cluster has come together. I'm really happy with it. Now, sometimes I tend to struggle with my embellishment clusters and feel like I fail majorly with them, but I have to admit I really, really like this one. See, told you I'd end up using that enamel dot. I really like enamel dots. I think they just add a really nice finishing touch. So now I'm going to go add my title, and it's going to be nice and simple and just say the jar. Now, I imagine this like with quotes around it, like as in the jar. That's its name. It is actually called the jar. Every time we referred to it, we're like, go put it in the jar. So that's what it was called. And these blue thickers worked beautifully with all the blue that I have going in my background. So maybe that's why I chose the blue. I don't know. But if you look, there's about 3, maybe 4 different tones of blue. So it definitely works. I really do like using different tones of the one color. See, I'm still trying to use that embellishment piece. It doesn't end up on the page. Now I'm going to add my journaling, and because I have the smaller photo and I have a lot of white space, it gives me a really nice area for my journaling, and that's what I love about using these smaller photos. I've actually been using them a lot lately. I'm opting for smaller photos, or when I say smaller, I mean 3x4, and then a lot of white space, and it gives me a lot of white space to play with my mixed media background. So I'm just adding my journaling, and my journaling is just the story I told you before about how we added all the activities we weren't able to do due to quarantine into this jar, and how once quarantine was over, we have started doing the things in the jar. We went bowling and went to a football game, so yeah, able to start ticking things off that list. So that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed my first video with this month's kits, and I look forward to sharing more with you. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.